Good evening, guys. Today I'm going to go over with you how to replace your main shaft bearing blocks on your Outrage Fusion 50 RC helicopter. Alright, now as you can see, this one is actually not crashed. It's in full working order. So you might ask yourself, why am I changing the bearings? Well, that's because it's got around 350 flights and the bearings are getting a little bit notchy, and they're developing a little bit of play between the inner race and the main shaft. So in my book, that's time to replace the bearings. So I went ahead and got myself some bearings, and it's time to go ahead and swap them. Now what you're going to need here is a 2.5 millimeter wrench, or hex wrench, a 1.5 millimeter hex wrench. That's to remove that bearing from the top block because it's held in with additional fasteners. You're going to need a cross wrench to pull your head off. You're going to need some blue 242 thread lock. You could use 243 as well. You're going to need some bearing retainer compound. Loctite 680 is good. Loctite 609 is probably better for this application, but I only have 680, so this is what I'm using. You're going to need something to actually push the bearings out of the holders with. I'm using this little set of pliers because they actually could fit around the bearing. I mean, the bearing will not fit through them, but they will fit through the actual bearing block, and I will show you that a little bit later in the video. You're also going to need a heat gun or a lighter as a heat source, because you are going to have to heat up those bearing blocks in order to get the bearings out. Alright, so right now go ahead and pull the head off your helicopter and remove the 3 bearing blocks. You're also going to need to remove this brace right here, and I will get to what you need to do here in just a little bit. Alright guys, something I actually forgot to mention. In order to remove this middle block, you're also going to have to loosen your motor mount bolts. Now if you don't want to redo the mesh on your motor, don't worry about loosening the two front fasteners on the actual motor mount and the 4 fasteners on the pinion support block. If you keep those in, your motor's not going to move, you're not going to lose your perfect mesh. That's what I'm doing. So just go ahead and remove just these 2, and then just go ahead and proceed with removing the additional 4 fasteners that actually hold the block into the helicopter. Alright? Alright, hi guys, I'm back. Now that you got the 3 bearing blocks out, you could see the distinct differences between the 3 blocks. And you're going to want to remember that. This is the middle block. As you can see, it meshes with the motor mount. The upper block has 4 additional fasteners, and the lower block has no fasteners. So you want to put them together in the correct order when you get your helicopter back together. So just keep that in mind. So I'm just going to go ahead and start with the lower block. Get your heat source and get something to hold the block with. Get a rag in case you haven't seen one before, because you're going to need that. And your tool that you're going to use to push the bearing out once it's heated up. And go ahead and start heating. Alright, that should be enough. Go ahead and take your the tool that you're going to use, insert it from the bottom, take your rag, grab the bearing block, and just push. And bam, see, it comes right out. Oop. And let me see here. Alright, so these definitely do use a retaining compound, so you're going to want to use your Loctite 680 or whatever other retaining compound you have. You don't have to necessarily use 680, it's just the stuff I use. It's probably even a little bit too strong for this application, but it will work just fine. Now onto the top bearing block. Remove the fasteners first. Don't lose them because they're tiny. Start heating this one. Alright, this should be enough. Once again, make sure you insert your pliers or whatever tool you're using from the bottom, not from the top. Grab your rag and boom, pop that guy right out. And on to the next one. Alright, that should be good to go. Well, there goes that bearing. It's alright, I don't need it. Whew. I think I got resilient fingers. Alright guys, so now that you got your 3 bearing blocks out, there is some residual retaining compound left in there. So you're going to want to let these cool and clean that stuff up with a non-solvent based cleaner. I use this stuff. You can use denatured alcohol. You can use Jack Daniels if you really want. But yeah, go ahead and clean those out. Let them cool, and it'll be ready to install the new bearings. Alright, hi guys, I'm back. Okay, so this part can get a little bit tricky. First, you're going to want to clean all the surfaces, everything. Your new bearings, obviously I already said clean the inside of the bearing blocks. You want to keep the oil on your fingers off, so you can use gloves. I just don't touch the outsides of the bearings. I'm kind of used to that, so you might want to use gloves. So what you're going to have to do is, first you're going to have to actually heat up the block, because it's kind of a semi-interference fit. You're still using your retaining compound, but you're not going to be able to really push the bearings in without heating up the blocks, without damaging the bearings, or possibly damaging the blocks. It's not going to go in very smoothly. Chances are you're not going to get the bearing all the way seated properly. So just don't do it that way. Take it from me, I learned the hard way, through and through again. So before you get to heating the blocks up, take your retaining compound and put it on. I just use a little pad. Put it right on there to have it ready. Have your little applicator ready. I just use a little piece of music wire. You use a toothpick or whatever you want. And then take your bearing block, heat it up a little bit. Actually, before you even do that, go ahead and apply just a little bit of retaining compound to the outer race of the bearing. Because once you do heat the block up, you don't really have a very big window to go ahead and stick the bearing in there. You need very, very little of this stuff. Don't go crazy. You really just need a thin little film. It's not really the primary retaining method here. Okay. good enough. Alright, I want to work quick. There. Oops. Bearing around that block. Press it right in. Wipe off the excess. And there you go. You got one. Go ahead and do the rest. Once again, take your bearing. Get that compound on there. Just a little bit. Put it aside. Get up your bearing block. Count to about 30. Alright, that's good enough. Falls right in. Don't forget to wipe off the excess. You don't want it creeping into the bearing. Whoop. Make sure that doesn't happen. Almost pulled the bearing out. Well, there you go. All 3 new bearings installed in their blocks. Well, now it's time to get these blocks back in the helicopter. Just don't. Alright guys, so at this point you should have your bearing blocks already in your helicopter with the Loctite and everything on the fasteners, but you shouldn't have it fully tightened in yet. Alright? Now that includes the support member here, because that's actually part of the top bearing block, or it's being held in with the same fastener. Alright, so now you're going to take your main shaft, not attached to anything, and with the block still loose, you're going to make sure this main shaft falls right through. And if it doesn't, you're going to adjust the blocks accordingly. Now obviously you're not going to tighten your lower block yet, because you need to stick the head on there, but the 2 upper blocks you will tighten down. So get it in there nice, make sure it could fall right through, just like that, falls all the way through to the bottom, and go ahead and start tightening the bearing blocks up. And obviously use a cross pattern. Oops. Make sure they don't shift while you're tightening them, because that happens sometimes. Check one last time. Perfect. See? See how easily that shaft moves? It's exactly what you want. Alright? Now go ahead and just fully snug them down. Remember, don't torque these down like crazy, because you'll never get them out. Let the Loctite do its job. Alright, nice and smooth, and that's it. Now you're ready to go ahead and pop the head back onto your helicopter, let the Loctite cure, and go out and fly. Alright, thanks for watching.